Hey guys, now this is going to be one of the easiest videos we're going to go through, and it's just going to be a summary of the two chart sheets that we have. Now the first one we're going to go through is the general charts, and the second one will be the SaaS charts. So let's kick off with the general ones now. Now what we've just done is we've pulled out the charts out of the bottom of each and every sheet, and you just have them all here. Sorry, the new Excel takes a bit of time to render each graph, but you can scroll through and you can just see them here. A little bit slower than it used to be. So the first section that we have are staff, and we can see the total salaries and the staff related costs, which are the onboarding, the office spend, etc. And you can see it's obviously a smaller proportion of the total number of amount of money that you're spending on salaries. The next one is a breakdown between your headcount. We have your R&D, your G&A, your S&M, and your COGS, which are the four key cost buckets that we use. And you can see how they progress over time. So you'll see over time, for some reason, COGS ends up being pretty large, and they remain relatively stagnant, except that we've made some assumptions, obviously, for increases over time here. There's a large increase here. That's because we assume when you hit your Series A, you start ramping up your staff, and therefore it increases. What's really useful is to look at these charts to get perspective. So your numbers are never going to be perfectly right, but they can be wrong. So what you want to look out for are anomalies. And so if there's a big ramp up here and you don't know why, or a big ramp up here and you don't know why, you need to go back and check your assumptions and check them out, because it can be quite hard to look through rows and rows of data with your assumptions and wonder, does this make sense? Charts are a great way to figure that out. Now the next chart we have is summary costs by category type, again R&D, G&A, etc. And this is the spend that's been spent by each individual category, which you can see looks exactly the same basically as this one. It's just been disaggregated. Now, if you ever want to copy any of these charts into, your PowerPoint deck or some other supporting deck, it's super easy to do. You just select one, press Control Copy or Command C, copy it into your pitch deck, resize it, super easy, right? You've seen me do this in the last video and another one. The next section we have, we're going to look into our marketing sheets. So we have the cumulative trials, which break this down between your paid, your blog promotions, email, social, organic, and channel sales, right? And so you can see how these progress over time. Paid remains one of the most important ones for us, and blogging and promotions becomes increasingly valuable over time too. Now let's look at the next one, which is total new trials. We have new paid trials versus new earned trials. The reason this is being split out in the model is because the paid is explicitly costly, right? It's SEM, it's Facebook ads or Twitter ads if you find a reason to use those and they convert for some reason, but you're directly spending money on them. What you ideally want is to see your paid spend coming down over time because your earned channels are contributing to it. And so as you become better known, you get featured in blogs, people give you positive word of mouth, if your net promoter score is good enough, people join your email lists, etc. You earn those users. And that's a really positive thing that you want to say and should be part of your narrative, that yes, you need to spend money to make money, but over time, you'll deliver great product and you won't have to pay for customers anymore. The next chart we have is a stacked one, which shows you the total contribution across all your different channels. So it's basically this one, but stacked up to a percentage. So you can see as a percentage, your paid channel is going to decrease in importance from something around 60% at the start down to around 30%. Now let's look at the next one, which is your traffic breakdown. This shows you the sources of traffic which are coming to your website, which have an opportunity for you to turn them into trial. Now you notice here that one is missing is your channel sales. The reason why we've done this is we've broken out your channel sales because we've assumed these are effectively going to be qualified leads and shouldn't therefore really be treated as your traditional funnel of do something, get people to come to you, do some conversion stuff, and congratulations. And so we have effectively approached the use of channel sales differently. And you'll notice in some calculations that channel sales may not be excluded in them or included in them. And so here we assume channel sales not in here because it's not coming through traffic, it's coming through your channel partners. But you can see the contribution in thousands of people to your website over time. You can see it grows and then it stilts for some reason. And that'll be because of some of your assumptions. The next one is your trials. So what source are your trials coming in terms of the hundreds? So we'll see in aggregate over time, we have 1,000 trials a month are coming in. And channel sales starts becoming more importantly over time, and these remain linear. Actually, this doesn't look super nice, so I would probably want to look into your assumptions and check why this is the case and try and smooth it out just so that it looks a little bit more sensible. That's one of the great things of being able to look at the charts, right? Here we look at our implied conversion rates from your traffic to paid. So we've seen where our traffic is coming from, and now we want to know who's actually going to be paying and what the actual conversion rate is through that, which is also a function of your conversion from traffic to trial, then trial to paid. And so for your different channels, we'll see that paid is at about 0.48%, your social converts higher, your organic converts higher, and your email converts higher. Now we'll see that we can't see blog and promotions, and that's probably because it's exactly the same as one of the other ones. So if it's missing for some reason, don't worry, it's probably just hidden behind one of the other lines because it's the same number. Now we'll see a comparison track of your chart of your traffic. So we have paid traffic and earned traffic, but the earned is the big orange one. This is your blue one. And we have this nice little line which shows you the paid as a percentage of the total traffic. So it starts really high paid and it starts coming down to about 30%, which is a number that we estimated looking at the other charts above. Now digging more into the marketing, we'll look at your paid and organic marketing. So the next chart we're going to look at is your CPC. So that's your cost per click. Now we've tried to keep the assumptions in the page sheet relatively simple. You can of course make it a lot more complicated, but that just confuses things. So we don't have things like keyword volumes that you're trying to optimize for and the other like. So looking at our CPCs, so you understand, we'll look here and we'll see that our affiliates start lower, something around $2 and increase up over time to around $5. Our display starts at around 3.2 and again increases over time to 5, and our SEM is around 2.8 and goes up to $4. So firstly, your SEM is typically cheaper than your display channels, and so you'd want to allocate your budget there first before going to this channel. Now, why are things increasing over time? Well, the problem is the more you spend money, the more expensive things get as you become more competitive. You can do some hacks at the beginning which enable you to get some good value, but the issue is of scale. For you to scale your channels eventually becomes more expensive. This is why you start doing things which are more expensive, like display, which is included here. At a certain point, your SEM doesn't become a good ROI. So you therefore start allocating your budget to different channels over time. And so this is something you want to explain to investors, that we've assumed over time that our channels become more expensive, but we believe that there's still a sizable channel for us to use this to acquire our customers. Now looking at our paid and organic traffic next, this just splits out where traffic is coming across all your different sources. In here, you'll see that we have these ones are other. I've just allowed additional rows for you to type in channels that you might be doing. So if you have a mobile app and you do something like Fixu to drive a bunch of rubbish traffic to you to inflate your numbers, to maybe game the App Store ranking system, then you could just type in the marketing sheet Fixu and this would be presented on the sheet. So right now the other ones aren't there, they just exist. The same thing, we have others, made some assumptions in the sheet. They can just be lead and you won't see them anymore. but it's just something to be aware of, that you can add the additional channels that you want really easily just by changing the name, putting your assumptions, and everything just flows through. But that capacity has been built in for you to be able to do that. Now, the next part is the paid marketing budget. And so you'll see how much dollars you're spending by channels. So we talked about SEM. I said that you're going to start spending most of your budget here, and that's going to increase over time. And then as SEM starts yielding fruits, we'll start doing some display. So your display budget goes up. Display goes here, and then you pave it off. And you start testing Facebook because you think maybe that's going to work. And you can see that you're allocating budget there. But this just effectively shows you where you're spending your actual paid marketing. Now we'll look at our paid and organic traffic by sources. So now you can see here what's coming from where. So we have our Facebook, we have our SEMs, we have our organic visitors, and from our paid marketing budget, how much money is being spent by these channels, which is basically just this graph, but presented in a different way, which I think looks a little bit nicer. This one's actually the same thing as that as well. Now looking at the next sheet, inputting to the charts page, our email, blog, social marketing graphs, we have our emails. So we'll see here, these are your unsubscribes. You see they get pretty large over time. And that's because as these go up, you're going to have more churn out of the people. And so here are your site signups. Here are the people who are purchasing and contributing to adding to your emails. And so this is your gross increase, and here's your decrease. So again, if you're looking at the chart and you wonder, our unsubscribe rates looks like a little bit too high, go look at your assumptions and maybe taper them off. So now your traffic from blog and promotions, this is just simply how much traffic is coming over time. So maybe you're getting featured in lots of blogs, and this is why you're seeing these spikes. Check your assumptions and just make sure you understand why you're seeing this, and does the amount of traffic you're getting in make sense. Now for your social traffic, we have this is the main traffic. So social media traffic is the main traffic you're getting from your loyal following, and the reprogress rate is what your followers are sharing with their followers and getting them to know about your site, which again is part of that earned aspect of getting free marketing. Now, channel sales is the last part in this sheet. So we'll see that channel sales allows you two ways of generating leads. One is your CPL and one is your CPA. So CPL is cost per lead, CPA cost per acquisition. And so this is the amount of money that we're spending for them. And these are the number of trials that are actually getting converted from those leads that you're getting. Cool, makes sense. Now let's look at the second sheet, which is the SaaS ones. And we'll zoom in just a little bit more. So at the start, we've got our bookings and MRR metrics. So the first one, we'll see our MRR, where we have your churn, which is obviously a negative. And we have expansion revenue, we have net new MRR, and we have new customers that are coming in. The next one is your ending MRR, which just shows you how much MRR do you have at the end of every month, nicely going up and towards the right. Same thing for your bookings in thousands of dollars. Now we have our ARPA for both new customers and for your total customers in general. You have your net MRR churn, which is increasing up over time and decreasing. Now, so we'll see some reason these are not quite presenting the way that we'd like. So all we need to do is click on these to not be thousands, but we'll make it none. So now we'll see this makes sense. So if you're growing faster or slower than what these graphs are expecting, you may just need to make that quick little change. We'll see the same thing is happening here. Let's change the display unit to none by double clicking on it, and boom. It's scaled up to something that makes more sense. So we'll see that our net MRR churn goes up over time, but tapers off to around 1.5%. Next, we look at the churn and expansion as a percentage of MRR. and our MRR expansion spikes, presumably because you just got a low denominator, and stays relatively steady over time, around 0.5%. Our customer churn and MRR churn go relatively in line over time as well, something in the region around 2%. So the next chart that we're going to do is the contract and upfront payments months. So you can decide between people paying on an annual basis or a standard monthly basis. What this tells us here is this is the average contract length. So for the people who take the annual package, the amount of time that they're paying upfront for is 12 months. And the next line we see is the average months paid upfront. And what this does is blend it between the annual and the monthly paying people. So we'll see that the percentage of people who take the annual package increases actually at a certain month. So more people move to the annual package. And so the number of average months people are paying on a blended basis starts at something in the region around 2-ish and increases to around 2.5, 3 over time. Now, margins. We'll see we have our gross profit after marketing, and fortunately we're making some money on our EBITDA margin basis here. Now we have a series of charts which I've stolen the inspiration from David Scott, making sure that you have all the charts that VCs might be expecting from you. And these are your funnel metrics. Now, I mentioned channel sales before. I have stripped them out of here so that it's on a pure like-for-like basis. So for the channels that are included here, everything other than channel sales, you buy traffic, you drive them to your site, people come to your site, and they have an opportunity to convert to a trial, and then to convert from trial to paid. So the channel sales is kind of bypassing this a little bit. And so I've just stripped them out to make that clean. So it's just something to be aware of, okay? So you buy traffic or you earn traffic to your site, and here are the number of web visitors you get. Now, the next chart is your trials. So how do people get from your traffic to the trial? You have a conversion from visitors to trial. And this shows you your rate starts around 1.9 and gets to around 2-ish% over time. You can make these worse to scale that down or improve them over time depending on how you want to communicate your message. This will then lead to the number of trials that you have. These trials, you hope, will then convert into giving you money. But there's only a percentage of those people which will do that. So what is that? It starts around 15% and increases to around 35% over time, which leads to your total number of customers. So those are your funnel metrics. The next section and last section that we have is your CAC LTV ones. So here it simply shows you in the dollar value how much is your CAC over time and how much is your LTV. Skipping this one quickly, we'll see that your LTV and CAC ratios are calculated on a purely paid marketing spend and a fully loaded basis, which includes all the other related costs like your staff ones. So we'll see that on a non-fully loaded basis, your LTV CAC gets to around 20 over time, and something in the region of 7, 8 on a fully loaded basis, which makes more sense. So the absolute minimum number you want to have to be viable is 3. Something like 5 makes sense. So we'll see here that on a fully loaded basis, these are maybe a little bit optimistic. So you might want to either review your assumptions and pare them down, or have a good reason why you believe your LTV CAC on a fully loaded basis should actually be that number, and you can justify that. And that totally may be the case. But you have to kind of really want to understand what that is. I mean, it could be a function of your pricing point being unrealistically too high, or your Cpcs and your paid being too low. You'd want to play around these things to make sure that these make sense, because this is absolutely one of the things that investors are really going to scrutinize, your CAC LTV. Now, the last chart we'll go through is your months to recover CAC. So we'll see these spike up a lot. That's mainly because you don't really know what you're doing and you're hiring people, and so you can't amortize those costs evenly over the customers that you're getting. And so you'll see that they come down over time. So on a full loaded basis, it's going to take you something regional of about 12 months to recover your CAC. And on a paid pure basis, it's going to be 3 to 4 months, which sort of makes sense. Because ideally, if you can have a payback return period of less than 12 months, you're really on to something. If it's slightly over, that's okay too. But if you're talking 20 months, 36 months, then it just takes you too long to recycle the cash that you're putting in to pay to get it out in order to self-fuel your business. Now, hopefully those are really useful. If there's any charts missing, please let me know. I'm happy to put everything else that you want in, but already there's quite a lot.